What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Got some troll action for you guys to check out. As I've said before, I always like to diversify my content when it comes to these daily duels. One day I'll have a competitive duel. The day after that, it'll be some low tier for life, maybe table 500 action. And then the day after that, it'll be a completely troll duel, as you guys are going to see in this one. And the reason that I say that this is a troll duel is not just because this is an OTK that you can pull off. Technically, if you get everything assembled right, it can be an FTK, but specifically because this is one of the, actually no, this is the most disrespectful OTK you can ever pull off in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the reason that it's so disrespectful is in this version of this OTK, which you can use multiple different cards to substitute, but when you run this card specifically, which you guys are going to see momentarily, it is essentially the worst version of the OTK. Now, it is still going to kill your opponent, but there are just better ways to actually play this deck. And I think that you do want to, when you OTK your opponent, you want to make them feel as bad as possible. I think intentionally running bad cards is just another way to do that. So this is actually an OTK involving Blackluster Soldier and Primal Seed. A lot of you guys probably know about like the Primal Seed OTKs. Interesting enough, this is an OTK that is only possible in the TCG because Primal Seed in the OCG is actually limited to one, specifically to make sure that plays like this are not possible. So at first you look at this duel and you know, I knew what this duel was supposed to be going into it, but I watched like 50 duels at a time to kind of evaluate what should go on the channel and what shouldn't go on the channel. And I was like, okay, I guess this is just low tier Lightsworn versus I don't know, Shark from Zex, who was playing in this duel like it's a Shark deck or something like that. And I was like, why would a Lightsworn deck be running, you know, Banisher of Radiance and Banisher of Light? Like, I kind of get the White and Dark Dragons, I kind of get BLS and Lightsworn, but I was watching this and I was like, oh, okay, it's just a table 500 low tier for life duel. Nothing to really see here. But then it finally got to the point where the OTK was pulled off, and I was like, oh yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, you know, the Shark player, he's just kind of going along, doing his damage with Nightmare Shark. Number, are you 17? What is your number? 47. I knew there was a 7 in there. He's just doing his damage with Nightmare Shark. He's going to go for a Sayuja Skull Dread. He's just trying to fix his hand. It's not actually part of the OTK. That is what you need right there. You need Primal Seed for the OTK, and you need a copy of Blackluster Soldier. And the reason that this card is actually limited in the OCG is because if you have another copy of Primal Seed banished, and then you have another card that you really want to get back, as long as you have BLS on the field, you can infinitely loop your Primal Seeds if you have something like Banisher of Light, Banisher of Radiance, or Macrocosmos on the field. As long as the Primal Seed that you're activating is going to be banished, the second copy will be added to your hand, and you can activate it and you can get the other Primal Seed back from the graveyard. So people would do this with like Exodia, because if you had Upstart Goblin plus Primal Seed, you can just loop that and you can infinitely draw. But this is an even better OTK because it's much more disrespectful than that. Mirror Force is activated. It's completely inconsequential, but I believe that this is going to be the last turn of this duel. Well, not during the Shark player's turn. He activated Soul Charge, and that was a fatal mistake because he can't attack, and he will not be able to stop this FTK. This is really spicy, by the way. Before we even get this set up, I'm loving the fact that he has 3 copies of Blackluster Soldier. That is so nice. So if you guys actually missed it, he did summon Fairy Tale Snow, which was discarded from the Shadow Dragon. Now, what that did is Fairy Tale Snow actually banished his other copies of Primal Seed. He's running 3, but you only need 2 for this OTK, and this is the central piece. This is the way that you are going to win. We are using the 100% worst burn card in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! We are using Sparks. This is a Spark OTK. You can call it Final Spark or Super Sparks, but it will get the job done. Now, Sparks only does 200 damage, so you guys are actually going to be here a while. And the way that he constantly gets his Primal Seed banished is by having Banisher of Radiance on the field. You guys saw that he did have Banisher of Light. I'm pretty sure if we look through this deck, which we'll do after this duel is over, I'm pretty sure we'll probably see a Macrocosmos as well. And once you get the combo set up, all you do is just constantly activate Primal Seed. Then you activate your Sparks. You have to make sure that Sparks is in the graveyard, but honestly, you could have like multiple copies of Sparks. And it's really not that difficult to pull off once you get this set up. The only thing is it takes a very, very long time because you're only doing 200 damage. So it's pretty awesome, and you can actually get back 2 copies of, well, no, you wouldn't want to get 2 copies of Primal Seed because then you would lose your ability to add the sparks. And yeah, this is actually an infinite damage play, so this could do, I mean, if Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't know, if your opponent had 50,000 life points because they were playing Soul Absorption or something like that, like, it doesn't matter what your opponent's life points are, as long as they can take effect damage from sparks, they will 100% lose this duel. I can't think of any way that your opponent will be able to stop this. Maybe, oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm trying to think. Maybe there could be a way. I guess if like if the opponent had Trickstar Lycoris on the field, maybe they burned you to death because you're constantly adding 2 cards to the hand. But you know that's why you would substitute. Usually you wouldn't run Sparks here. You'd run something like Poison of the Old Man or Okazi. Those are just like way better cards. You can even run Tremendous Fire. That does 1,000 damage, so you only have to activate that one 8 times. Oh, okay. For some reason I was like, is he not going to keep doing it? I didn't actually watch this to completion. I was like, dude, okay, his opponent scoops. Look, the reason he was gonna have to activate Sparks 14 more times, just in case you were keeping track. Yeah, he was gonna have to activate it 14 more times. If you're the opponent at the top, like, you understand what's happening here. You're like, let me get the fuck up out of here, man. I'm not sitting around waiting for you to activate this card over a dozen more times. I already know that I'm dead. Let me pause right quick and I'm gonna show you guys what the deck looks like. So this is what the deck looks like on paper, and actually as I was loading this up, I had to think about it for a second. I was like, I don't actually know if there's going to be a Macrocosmos in this deck, specifically because even though you guys saw it play out as an OTK, it wasn't done in the first turn, this is still a deck that ideally you want to be an FTK, and FTKs don't generally run traps. I mean, yeah, there's like the Magical Explosion with like Junk Collector and stuff like that, but for the most part, if you get everything set up turn 1, then you would just want to like kill your opponent right then and there. If you open with Macrocosmos, that's really not going to do anything because it has to be set on the field. Everything that you guys saw in the duel is basically what's in this deck. And actually, shout outs to Gay Exodia Girl. I'm not exactly sure if you're a girl or a boy, but I do know that you've sent me multiple spicy duels over a long time frame, and I just wanted to shout that out because I looked at the people dueling and I was like, Gay Exodia Girl. I was like, I see that name all the time when I'm looking at these duels. But let's just look at the deck. Alright, so you got cards to banish from the field and from the graveyard, things like Fairy Tale Snow if you do happen to mill your copies of Primal Seed or your copies of like Spark. Basically, if you mill them from Solar Recharge or Charger Light Brigade, Fairy Tale Snow is a card that just lets you banish them. I think that, honestly, when you look at like the extra deck, I think the only card you actually have to run is probably just Saryuja Skull Dread, right? Like, isn't this the only one you really need because it can let you potentially fix your hands? Although, I don't know, I can make an argument that maybe Soul Charge should probably be in this deck. I mean, you're not using the battle phase in this deck at all. All you're trying to do is just pull off, you know, the Primal Seed play and just burn your opponent for Sparks. Again, you can supplement Sparks with any other burn card, but I think that you probably shouldn't because it's much more disrespectful to make your opponent wait, you know, like 5, 6, 7, maybe 15 more activations of you using Sparks when, you know, they know that they're going to lose. And I guess you just psychologically just mess with their head and make them scoop. Everything else in this deck is just kind of like Lightsworn stuff. You run the Lightsworn stuff because it gets cards in the graveyard, mainly Fairy Tale Snow. Also, we can get Shadow Beast. Whole reason it's in here is because it's basically just an upstart Goblin if you send it to the graveyard off of what, Minerva or you know, Solar Recharge or any of those cards. And then you have to run BLS because to activate Primal Seed you have to have a BLS on the field. And the OCG, they can do it with Chaos Emperor Dragon, but we don't have that card legal. We don't have the errata, so this is the only way that you can activate Primal Seed is by having this dude on the field. Thank goodness that he is at 3 and that, you know, this card's at 3 because again, in the OCG you can't even use this because this card is limited. But whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.